I'm the Voter Protection Director at the Texas Democrats. We're going to get started in just a second while we have a couple folks join us and gather. So we will get started on National Voter Registration Day and taking your voting questions in just a few seconds. Thanks for joining us today. All right, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Rose Clouston. I am the Voter Protection Director with the Texas Democratic Party, and so excited to be joining y'all today for National Voter Registration Day. Our president designated this a national holiday of sorts to highlight how important it is that all of our citizens participate in our democracy and that everyone get registered to vote at your current address and participate so that you can vote this fall. And today we're going to be taking all of your questions about voter registration and other voting issues. And so excited to see what folks have in store for us. So before we get started, I do want to share about a couple of resources we have. If any of your questions aren't answered today, or you just want some links to go to, please check out registertexas.com. You can start the voter registration process there, check if you're registered, update your address, and get a registration form. We'll mail one to you to make sure that you have no barriers between you and getting registered. Or you can go to mytexasvotes.com, and we have a lot of frequently asked questions about the voting process there. And last but certainly not least, if you need an individualized answer to your particular question, you can call our voter assistance hotline at 844-TX-VOTES. Again, that's 844-TX-VOTES. All right, what questions do you folks have? I'm pulling up the threads now. Okay, I see one here from Ben. Ben is a college student wanting to know where he should register to vote. That is a great question, Ben. I know a lot of folks have moved into their campus communities recently, and we get this a lot. You as a college student have a choice of whether you register at your campus address or where your quote unquote home, where you maybe moved from before you lived on campus or where your parents live. That's your choice as a college student, which of those places you consider your residence and want to choose to register to vote at. There's some advantages and disadvantages to both. If you stay registered or get registered at your quote unquote home or parents' address, you will probably want to vote a mail ballot because you won't be there during early voting in October and November. So you'll want to go ahead and get a mail ballot, which you can do at txdem.co/VBM app. And one of my colleagues will throw that in the chat for you. And if you want to register on campus, that's a great option too, because you can vote at a polling place either on or near your campus, which can be very convenient and be useful for a lot of folks. So if you want to get registered or update your address to that, add to where you live on campus, you can do that at registertexas.com. Again, that's registertexas.com. And if you are registering for the first time, you're going to have to fill that out on a paper application. So you'll get started on registertexas.com. You can either print out an application or we'll go ahead and we'll mail it to you to make sure that you have it, and it'll be postage paid. So you just have to fill that out, drop it in the mail by October 11th. But if you're already registered in Texas and you just want to change your address, you can do that fully online, and we'll guide you through that process. For those of you who might be college students out of state, either you are Texan who is living out of state for college, you can get your mail ballot application at txdem.co/VBM app. And if you're an out-of-state student who's living in Texas, but you want to stay registered at your home address and vote from that other state, you can get help at iwillvote.com. All right. Oh, great question. I have one from Bridget who wants to know if someone can register to vote if they have a felony conviction. As long as you have completed the terms of your sentence and are off paper, you can register and vote. So you've probably heard about some states where there are prohibitions on folks voting for the duration of their life after they are convicted of a felony. That is not the case in Texas. That is a myth. Once you've completed the terms of your probation and your parole and all other terms of your sentence, and you are not incarcerated anymore, you can register and vote. If you were registered before you had the conviction and were incarcerated, you will have to re-register to vote. So you have to start again, and you can do that at registertexas.com. You're going to hear that phrase a lot today, registertexas.com. We try to make everything as simple as possible. So we're just going to, a lot of your questions and a lot of these processes can be done at that website. All right, Norman asks, what have Democrats done to protect our vote? Norman, that is a great question. And we only have about 24 more minutes left on this Facebook Live. So I can't answer with all of the things, but a few of the things that Democrats have done just in Texas are that last year during the legislative session, Republicans decided that they wanted to make it harder for Texans to vote. And our Democratic champions fought tooth and nail to prevent restrictions on our voting rights. And they were able to beat back many of the most onerous restrictions to curtail souls to the polls when Republicans proposed making it harder for particularly African-American churches to help their congregations vote on Sundays, and making it easier for poll watchers to intimidate voters. So we were able to beat back a lot of those restrictions thanks to our Democratic legislators who broke quorum and took courageous steps in order to prevent some of those things from becoming law. And then here at the Texas Democratic Party, we've got your back all year round. We provide resources like the mytexasvotes.com website, that voter assistance hotline at 844-TX-VOTES, and our county parties and folks all across the state are serving tirelessly as election workers who are the ones that really make our democracy happen and allow you to vote at your polling place. So those are just a few of the ways that Democrats are working to protect your right to vote. All right, I have a question from Darcy. Do I have to have a Texas driver's license to register to vote? No, you don't. On the voter registration form, it's going to ask you to fill in either your driver's license number or your last 4 digits of your social security number, or your DPS ID number if you have a Texas state ID card. So you can fill in any of those 3 numbers. And if you don't have any of those things, there's a checkbox to select that says you've not been issued any of those numbers. But most folks have one of those 3 things. If you have a driver's license or state ID number, I would encourage you to put that on there. And if you have the last 4 of your social as well, I encourage you to put all of that on there because it helps to develop your voter registration record and make sure that all that information is attached to your record in a way that's really helpful for some other things. You will, however, need to show a photo ID when you go to vote. So there's 7 IDs that you can show, and one of my colleagues can post that from the What to Bring section of the mytexasvotes.com website, can share that link. But the 7 IDs are your Texas driver's license, Texas state ID card, a U.S. passport book or card, or a military ID with a photo, a concealed carry permit or a gun permit in Texas. And there are 2 more that you will find at that URL. I don't want to lead you astray. So there's 7 different IDs that if you have one of those, bring it to the polling place to show. If you don't have any of those, though, you still have options. So go ahead and give us a call at 844-TX-VOTES, and we can help you find out what ID to bring and what your options to vote are. Next up, we have Crystal. How can I do a vote by mail ballot if I'm away at college with no mailing address? So Crystal, that's a great question. I think most universities have some mailing address that you can use, whether it is a campus, PO box that you can use, or a, front desk of your dormitory, or something along those lines. So if you want mail, you will need a mailing address where that ballot can be delivered. So those are options. If you don't have any of those, a last ditch resort might be to rent a PO box for a short period of time in order to be able to have that mailing address. But I'm sure that folks in your campus community have dealt with this before. So would encourage you to talk to someone in your campus administration who might be able to help you secure a mailing address. Or, you can even have your ballot delivered to a friend's apartment or something if you trust them a lot, so that you can receive mail at that address. If you're out of the county and outside of the state, it sounds like. Sherry asks, are there accommodations for people with disabilities? Yes, absolutely. Every polling place is supposed to be ADA accessible for folks who have mobility impairments and need physical access to the polling place. Every polling place has voting machines that provide a range of accommodations for folks who are blind or have vision impairments, deaf or hard of hearing, and folks with a range of other disabilities. You have voting machine options that usually allow you to vote an independent ballot. You will also have the option to have poll workers on site assist you with your ballot and into the voting booth or whatever other supports you might need. And you can bring a friend, family member, anyone except for your employer or a representative of your employer or a representative of your union with you to the voting booth in order to help you if you'd like. If you are physically unable to enter the polling place, you can vote curbside at any polling place in Texas, meaning that they will bring a voting machine or a ballot out to you to vote from a vehicle. You also have the option to vote by mail if you'd like to do that. And again, you can get a vote by mail request form at txdem.co/VBM app. And we'll go ahead and mail you that request form that you have to fill out. And we encourage you to mail it back by October 14th to make sure that there's time for all of those processes to happen and you get to get your ballot and return it in plenty of time. Kevin asked if curbside voting is available. Yes, it is. So curbside voting allows a voter who is physically unable to go into the polling place to vote in person at the polling place from their vehicle. There's a lot of myths about this that because of some discussion in last year's legislative session that curbside voting might not be available. It is available for anyone who has a physical limitation that prevents them from going into the polling place. You can just request that your ballot or machine be brought out to you. I would recommend calling your county's elections office ahead of time and giving them a heads up of when you're planning to vote and where so that they can make sure that a poll worker is ready and waiting for you. Heather asks, do you have to vote in the same county as the address on your Texas driver's license? Heather, this is a great question because there's a lot of myths about this. So you do need to be registered to vote at the address that you reside at. So if I live in Austin, consider this my residence, I need to have that Austin address as the one that I'm registered at. But it's okay if you haven't gotten around to going to DPS and changing your address on your license yet. That's totally fine. At the polling place, the poll worker should only be looking at your driver's license or your ID card to see if you are who you say you are. So is that picture, does it look kind of like me? Is Rose Clouston or a variation of that on that? Is it substantially similar to my name? Yep, great. ID matches. They're not supposed to be looking at the address. If you do have any problems because of this, please call 844-TX-VOTES and we will be happy to help support you. I would suggest that everyone really put this in your phone right now. Take out your phone right now. Put in Texas Dems voter helpline 844-TX-VOTES. Put us in your phone so that we're ready to help you if you have any questions or needs during the voting process, or to give that number to a friend when they tell you that they had a question or need some help. Let's see. Jan asked, can you vote without a driver's license? Yes, Jan, you can definitely vote without a driver's license. There are 6 other IDs that allow you to vote without any additional paperwork or anything. They are, I'm going to go and double check myself here so I give you this precisely this time around. You can use a Texas state ID card issued by DPS if you have one of those, a U.S. passport book or card, a U.S. military ID card with your photo, a U.S. certificate of citizenship or naturalization with your photo. Sorry, that's the one I forgot before. A Texas concealed handgun license issued by DPS, or a Texas election ID certificate issued by DPS. So if you don't have a driver's license, you can bring any of those 6 IDs with you and vote without any additional paperwork. But if you don't have one of those 6 either, no worries. Give us a call at 844-TX-VOTES, and there is usually a way that we can figure out for you to be able to vote a regular ballot at your polling place during early voting or election day. If you have a reasonable impediment that prevents you from possessing and obtaining one of those IDs, then there's some other ID that you can bring and some paperwork to fill out, and you'll be able to still vote a regular ballot at your polling place. Oh, Joy asks a great question. What should I do if my voter registration is rejected? Well, there's very little reason that your voter registration should be rejected. So you should call 844-TX votes and we'll help you figure out what happened. Maybe it got mailed to the wrong place, which they should still send it to the right place now that I say that. So that shouldn't be an inhibition. But I've seen this in very rare circumstances that someone's registration is rejected. But if that happens, call us at 844-TX votes and we'll deal with your specific situation. The other thing, though, that does happen to some folks is they look themselves up on the Secretary of State's website to see, am I registered? One of my colleagues will put that in the chat for you. You can look up there to see if you're registered to vote. If you do that and you see the word suspense on there, that is sometimes concerning for folks. If your voter registration is in suspense, all it means is that the elections office isn't sure that you still live at that address. It's nothing to be alarmed about. If you do still live at that address, then when you go to vote, you'll just be asked to sign a little bit of paperwork that says, yep, I still live at 123 Main Street. That's my address. Rose Clouston signature. Boom, all set. I can vote a regular ballot. If you don't live at that address anymore, that's perfect timing. Today's National Voter Registration Day. Let's get you registered at your current address. So go ahead and you can either start at registertexas.com and we will walk you through the process to get your address updated, or you can start at the Secretary of State's link, which one of my colleagues will put in the chat for you to update your address. If you already are registered to vote in Texas and you just need to change your address, you can do that online and the whole process can be completed online as long as you have a Texas driver's license or state ID card. Just make sure to do that right away. No reason to wait. You have until October 11th, but what are you doing right now? If you got a few minutes to talk to me, you got 5 minutes to update your address. So go ahead and do that right now and make sure that you're registered at your current address. So then I'm seeing a question from Jack that he never got a voter registration card. How can I get that? Great question, Jack. We get this all the time. So spoiler alert, you do not need your voter registration card for pretty much anything. It doesn't do very much at this point. So don't worry about it if you never got it. Just go ahead and check online and confirm that you're registered to vote at your current address. So go ahead and check registertexas.com and see if you're registered at that address. Some reasons that folks don't get a registration card, sometimes it just gets lost in the mail, but it might indicate that you aren't registered at your current address. So go ahead and check that on registertexas.com. And as long as you're registered at your current address, you don't need that card. You'll go to mytexasvotes.com a couple days before you want to go to vote and find your nearest polling place. And then you'll be good to go. So no worries about that registration card. Nina asked, how can I find my closest early voting location? So during early voting from October 24th to November 4th, you'll be able to vote at any polling place that's open in your county. So very convenient. You can vote from a polling place near home or your office. I always go right down the street from my office, so it makes it really easy during early voting. And you can find that location at mytexasvotes.com. Not all the counties have finished finalizing those yet, so they aren't up there yet. But as soon as we get all those from the state, we'll add them up there. So I usually recommend that you check 1 or 2 days before you're going to go vote and find the date, the times, and locations that are available to you. And all you have to do is put your address in at mytexasvotes.com, and we'll find the one that's closest to you, and you'll be able to see all of your options. On election day, some folks have to go vote at a polling place assigned to them based on where they live. But folks in many of our counties, including Harris and Dallas and Tarrant and Travis and Bear and most of our larger counties, you can vote at any polling place within your county on election day too. So both of those folks, whether you have to go specifically for your county, or specifically for your address or anywhere in your county, you can go to mytexasvotes.com and we'll find you the best polling place for you based on what those requirements are in your county. Ike asked, what do you recommend is the best way to convince friends or family to be sure they're registered to vote? Ike, you are in the best position to convince your friends and family because people listen to people they know and they trust best. So I would suggest that you whip out your phone right now and text them and say, hey, Mom, I know that you moved recently. Don't forget to make sure your registration is updated. Go to registertexas.com and get that fixed right away. We only have a little bit more time. So go ahead and I would text them right now and encourage them to do that. The deadline again is October 11th. If you want to help more people, we can help you. We can facilitate that. You can download the app Connect Texas. It's available in whatever your app store is that you use. Download Connect Texas, and there are options and actions on there that you can take that'll help you reach out to your friends and family members and other folks in your network to help make sure that they are registered at their current address and have all the information they need in order to vote. Catherine asked, do I need to bring my voter registration card with me to vote? Nope, you don't. It doesn't hurt to bring it. Like if you have it and it's something you keep in your wallet or if it's easily accessible, it doesn't hurt to bring it. Sometimes it can be helpful, but you do not need it by any stretch of the imagination. I never bring mine. It's not required as long as you have that one of those 7 photo IDs. Okay, I think that is all of the questions that we had today. Thank you so much for joining us on this Facebook Live. I hope that it's been helpful to you and you've gotten your questions answered. If you have any more questions, though, we have a bunch of FAQs and anything that you might need at mytexasvotes.com. Again, that's mytexasvotes.com. And if you have an individualized question, you can give us a call at 844-TX-VOTES. Again, that's 844-TX-VOTES. And of course, you have until October 11th to register or for the first time in Texas or register at your current address. And you can get that process started at registertexas.com. Thanks so much. Have a great National Voter Registration